No worries. I've just clicked record then, so they know it's know what you've been saying. So, how are you?
I'm good, brother. I'm good. It's I guess it wouldn't be as cold up here as what it is down there.
Yeah, it's
But
pretty cold today.
yeah, I'm just
Whereabouts are you exactly?
I'm in Sawtell at the moment.
Sawtell. Oh yeah, yep.
Yeah, I'm based. This Midland Coast area well.
A little bit, yeah. Coffs and Sawtell. I've been there when I was a kid a few times.
I'm not based here. I'm based in Kumbangri. I'm trying to encourage people to realise that Kumbangri is a place. Sawtell, Cross Harbour, part of the place that was here prior to colonisation, and I want people to understand that we've got to learn to accept that place.
Yep.
I base myself in all places of Kumbangri.
Yep. Yep.
So I could be connected further to my language and share it with all these beautiful people around here.
Yeah. Yep. And so you move around a bit then?
Well, I do. I'm searching for a place that I could really root myself down into, like trees, and not leave there for a long time.
Yep.
I want to find a place to call home for me and my 9-year-old daughter. And I'm just staying with a really good friend of mine at the moment.
Yep. In whereabouts? In Coffs Harbour or?
Oh no, just south of Coffs Harbour, a place called Nambucca Heads.
Oh yep.
That's where I grew up down there. That's my. If you ask me where my hometown is, Nambucca's my hometown.
Nambucca's your home. Oh, nice.
Mm.
And so you is the artwork sort of, were you sort of first inspired by that area in terms of doing your artwork, or?
All artwork is inspired by country, brother, and not only country, but other people's work is also inspiring.
Yep.
Looking at how whether it's modern, traditional, or contemporary artwork, it's based around my kinesthetics.
Yep.
So, whatever it is that I'm feeling in that moment, like I remember I went down to Melbourne just so spontaneously, bro. I didn't have a lot of money. I had enough for my airfare down. And a guy that I'd met one day at a protest in near Bellingen, he rang me when I was sitting at the Coffs Harbour Airport.
Really?
Yeah, and I hadn't arranged any accommodation. I hadn't made any plans apart from just take a swag. And the reason why I was going to Melbourne is because I knew Melbourne was a place to gain inspiration from artwork.
Yep.
So that's why I went to Melbourne. And I ended up living at Bond Beach for 2 weeks on the Frankston line.
Yep.
Mm. So most of the work that I do now is always inspired by country.
By country, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can sort of see that in the artwork, and it's sort of very blends this sort of traditional and sort of modern contemporary sort of feel. It's really incredible artwork.
Are you part of a uni, or are you part of a client that's doing this research?
I'm part of the uni. Yep. A bit about me. I work for the Flash study. I'm a research assistant on that study. I work in a group which is headed by an Aboriginal cardiologist, the first Aboriginal cardiologist in Australia, Luke Birchall.
That's him. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's my group lead, and we work closely together. Yeah. So my role within Flash is sort of community engagement and governance of the project. So that's I sort of engage with the community and put together this newsletter. So where's
your mob from, brother?
My mob. So I'm not Aboriginal, but I grew up in Halls Gap. Do you know where that is?
Where's Halls Gap?
It's about 3 hours west of Melbourne. It's a big Aboriginal area as well. There's lots of mountains and caves and lots of sort of Aboriginal history there in those lands. Yeah.
We need to clone people like you, brother. Honestly, like you're got a smile of acceptance all day about everyday life.
Yeah, mate. That's what I try and be. So.
Yeah, people up here needed to learn a bit of that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, cool.
And can you tell us a bit about how you went about doing the video? So what was your sort of process? Did you were given this brief to put together these animations for the video? How did you go about getting it done?
Well, me, Andreas, and Michelle, in this town, I was on a Zoom call with them. I first received the script, and then I'd seen the visual script. The written script was something that I could see it, but it was blurry.
Yep.
To start the process, and then once the visuals came in the second part of the script, clarity unfolded really quickly.
Right.
So I could see what it was that they were trying to achieve, and I'd sold an original art piece to get this device that I'm talking to you on,
Right.
and I've always wanted to dive into the graphic or digital world of artwork at some point, and I'd been using this device for just under a year, and I've been using this app, Adobe Fresco and Photoshop and Illustrator and all these apps that are relevant to today's work. And I don't know, when I'd seen the images, I'd taken away those images and they're just gone back to something that's more simplified, like the female belly in those images. You'll always know it's a female because she's got the belly and then she's got the chest area.
Yep.
And the male has the one body to be, you know, balanced in male and female images. And the womb's very, very sacred to me, like it is for everyone else.
Yep. Yep.
And there's a place up here called the Promised Land, and it's quite a tranquil place that's very beautiful and pristine, and pretty much it's got a lot of still lovely clear fresh water. And when you're up in that place, you get a sense of a timelessness experience. And there's all these beautiful rocks, and I love taking photography and artwork and doing poetry. They're my main three creative components to who I am. And I do them up there on country, away from everyday operations here in town. And these rocks, I'd just seen these rocks and there was all these leaves. And when I was talking to Michelle and Andreas about, you know, designing this, the rocks for me became really, really important because they're kind of like the blood flow of the river system. Even though they're not in movement, but what they do is they hold the channel together for the blood to flow.
Yep.
And I told Michelle that there was a song by Uncle Archie Roach called "Into the Bloodstream" that was a big influence to doing this work. And every time that I'd do the artwork for this project, I'd have that song on repeat quite a lot.
That was Archie Roach, is it?
Yeah, Uncle Archie Roach got a song called "Into the Bloodstream."
Yep.
And that was an inspirational song that I used for quite a lot of stuff. So I made sure that was on repeat quite a lot when I was doing this work.
Inspiring.
And the strong sense of community around diabetes, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope did that answer your question, or was I just?
Yeah, no, it certainly did. And would I be right in thinking that you took some photos of these rocks and then you sort of put the photos into Photoshop or Adobe and you created some artwork over them and sort of brought the actual rocks in a little bit?
Yeah, well, the process was that I'd create a new document in Photoshop, and then I'd get Andreas's requested dimensions and set that. And then import the photo, and pretty much what I'd do is that I'd use a watercolor brush on the device, and then I'd just cover the whole rocks.
Yep.
Then I'd bring in the design that they wanted, and then I'd use the opacity tool to give it a bit of subtleness.
Yep.
And then that was the spot. that was like the best vantage point that I can get myself to. And then just using the layer tools, I ended up clicking back on the oil paint layer, and then using the eraser pen.
Yep.
And then it just brought the rocks out.
Right.
And then you could change your dimensions to your pen size to any size if you like.
Yep.
So I just use that and use the template of the visual script as a guide.
Yep.
I mean, there was one image that I used where the hands were reaching out to each other.
Yep.
And then I'd seen this, like hands is a really powerful connection, but for me it needed to be a flowing kind of visual, and that's why I'd put this layer of lines underneath so that you could get this connection that this is a diabetes yarn, this is about doing this together. And doing it in a way where, you know, diabetes, you don't want to be doing that stuff alone. You want to have the support with you and, you know, the encouragement to do what you need to do with diabetes.
Yep.
So I tried to get it to a point where it can, you know, get to that place where we could get those messages clear for people to see. And Michelle sent me the 3 little clips to have a peek at yesterday.
Yep.
And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe that's what it is.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Pretty cool, Daniel.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
No, I saw it early this week as well, and yeah, was blown away because I'd only seen a couple of your still images.
Yeah, right.
I've actually seen it all animated, so it's amazing what can be done digitally these days.
Oh, it's crazy. You know, I mean, the only thing I ask society to do is remember that everything that we have, this device that I have, everything that we do, all comes from mum, and we just need to learn to act in an appreciative way every time. So I thank mother for the tools that I have, you know.
Yep. Yeah. And
coffee, everything.
Everything comes from Mother Earth, eh?
That's right, brother. Yeah. That's right.
Yeah. And so so you were just using the eraser pen over the opacity thing to make those images with the mouse, or was that?
Yeah, basically. No, basically. So when I purchased this iPad, I got myself a keypad and I got myself a drawing pen from Apple, and I'd worked out all of these. Like my mate who supported me, he said to me, if you get the iPad, I'll buy the Creative Cloud for a year for you.
Yep.
And then I'd done a series of artworks in the first couple of months, and he said to me, brother, see that button there called About? Well, no, it's called Learn.
Yep.
I said, yeah, what about it? He goes, have you touched that at all? And I said, no. I said, what is it? And he goes, it's like online tutorials for you to be guided through this software. And I said, oh, I didn't know that. And he goes, but you're doing all this work, bro, and that's amazing on how you just gotten yourself to this place. And then I started looking at that eraser pen, because there's about 7 or 8 options with that eraser pen. In what is it? Adobe Fresco, there's about 7, but in Photoshop there's around 10 or 12 different pens that you could use. So you've got this different texture lines that you can use, thickness or very fine. It's completely up to you. And I just realized that if I cover the whole photograph with whether it's vector paint or whether it's oil or whether it's watercolor or whatever, charcoal pen or whatever, I could erase whatever I want.
Yeah. And
so it's funny because when you use the word erase, you're taking something away.
Yeah.
But this was about exposing something different.
Right.
And
yeah.
it's all these rocks that are holding this identity together from the land. And that was the whole reason behind using the eraser pen, brother, was so that I could bring out the land in these people and in this project so that we can remember that, you know, Aboriginal people are very deeply rooted to the land. And I mean, the rocks are just a beautiful way to encapsulate that, right?
Yeah, that's right. And it's, you know, that's a very powerful statement in a way. I mean, you know, it's, you got Aboriginal people have, you know, in a lot of ways have been ignored and you know, sort of, they still remain and strong here in the country. And it's about, not about erasing, but about exposing the real, you know, the real truth of the country and the real people of the country. And that's yeah, that's really powerful. I you know, I didn't really get that until you've just explained it to me now about how you've brought back out the rocks in those paintings.
Yeah, and you could do it with any photo.
Yep.
Any photo at all. I mean, you could have a silhouette of a palm tree, and all you do is erase the background.
Yep.
And you leave the palm tree. You don't worry about touching it. You know.
Yep.
And then you could add more layers to create whatever image that you've got going on in your mind, and it just has this way, you know, of doing that. Like when you look at the background of the work that I've got on my background right now,
yep,
the rocks are done with a vector pen. So
right,
a vector pen is like the equivalent to an acrylic paint.
yep,
And then the top and the bottom of the sky and the land is a combination of oil and watercolor,
yep,
just splashed all over the place. You know what I mean?
yep,
And if I was to then use my eraser pen on that particular art piece, there's nothing that I'm exposing apart from the white background.
yeah, right, yep,
So, because it always has little pixels when you create a new document.
yep,
So you need to cover it up with something. And I always use the simple approach of using a black background or a white background, and then blending in whatever I choose to blend in.
yep.
You know.
So those white things on your background now are places where you've used the eraser.
Well, not the eraser. So I painted it white.
Yep.
The first layer.
Right. I see. Yep.
And then I added another layer and then done watercolor in the red and black. And then I used oil paint, not a lot of oil paint. It was probably 90% watercolor than oil paint.
Yeah, right. Yep.
And then just created the land on the vector pen and these little root systems, and there's a little man sitting there.
Yep.
On top of that rock in meditation. Yeah, and that's I printed that piece out, brother, on a cotton rag.
Yep.
Real nice texture, and they call it archive paper. And I printed out 5 A5s, 5 A4s, and 5 A3s, and I put them at an exhibition that I created in Belgium, and they all went in that one day.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, so I realised I was onto something when this particular piece and other art pieces just decided to talk to me, you know.
Yeah.
And people are sharing that talk by their interest and purchasing it, you know.
Yeah. And so has the switch to a digital sort of medium been a recent one, or?
Yeah, it has been, brother. It's like I said, I've only been using this device for about, you know, just under a year.
Yep.
Prior to that, I've always just been using acrylic paint and brushes and watercolor. I've never gone into oil paint at all. That's one medium that I've struggled to find a connection with.
Yep.
Until this thing arrived.
Right.
Until the Adobe suite had arrived, and a bloke in Germany had seen an original art piece, and he wanted the original, right or wrong. So I gave him an offer after researching how much all of this stuff would cost.
Yep.
And I thought that'd be a good exchange. And then there I was, and my mate kept true to his word. He came and got my iPad and uploaded the Creative Cloud and paid the subscription for the year. And then off it went, you know, just drawing and doing. Not like I said, I didn't go into the learning or the about tool to learn about this software. I just knew what these tabs meant.
Yep.
And then it was going off that. didn't even do any tutorials online or anything. It was just doing what I felt. I'm a very kinesthetic artist. I do things that I feel more than, using other people's ideas or whatever. Like, I'd rather conceptualize myself in a way where I use things to inspire, but I listen deep to what really the message should be about.
Yeah.
When I found out that I could use the eraser pen not to erase anything, but just to expose the truth of what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was a pretty cool way forward to do the things that I'm doing, and the eraser pen's amazing, bro, because you get to create your story just by using, the eraser pen.
It is amazing, and I guess you're just really going by how you feel and what where your instincts taking you, rather than actually learning the online tutorials or learning what does what, just going by feel.
Yeah, I mean, and I could be placed last in a class because I haven't taught myself in the tutorial Western concept way of doing things. But my way is listening to country.
Yeah.
And telling me things like I was only sitting there this morning in this morning meditation that I usually have about, I'm going to have a really good day today, and I wait for the ancestors to give me a sign.
Yep.
And I was on a deck, and everything was still around me outside, having a cuppa, looking at the trees and the sun coming through the trees. And when I looked down to find country talking back to me, there was this one little leaf, and it was just doing that very subtly. And I went, these fellows are still there and they're still listening, and I'm really, really liking this. That's how they talk to me, or that's how I receive it in that way.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, my boss always says, the ancestors are here with us, guiding us and showing us the way to go. So
yeah, your boss is right, brother.
Yeah, just got to listen. Yeah. And so, do you have a personal story with diabetes as well, or?
Yeah, I do. I had been diagnosed with diabetes back in 2013. I've got a nine-year-old daughter now, and she was around three or four back then, and I'd moved from Queensland down to back home, and I'd been working with a group of people where fitness was a regular thing that we had to fold into our work life, and I was a much bigger man than what I am now, and I needed to do something about it. And I'd realised that I'd been diagnosed with diabetes, and I'd get out of bed then, and my work routine back then, bro, was friggin', I'd be up at 5:30 in the morning, and I'd go for a walk. I'd come back and I'd get my daughter ready for school, and then I'd go to work, and I'd be out all day, and I'd get home around 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. And that was a 3-year routine.
Yep.
Of doing that. And, there were times where I checked my blood levels, and there were times where I didn't check my blood levels. Because to be quite honest with you, bro, like I said to the doctor, sometimes it's furthest from my mind when I've got so many other things going on.
Yep.
And that's why I like this project, because you've got a patch on you, and you don't need to worry about checking anything because your patch does the work for you.
Yep.
To me, that's a very smart, sophisticated, yet very, very common sense approach to maintaining your blood level checks.
Yep.
Yeah. So then I'd gone on the journey, and I'd lost copious amounts of weight over a long period of time, and got down to my goal weight, which was 110.
Yep.
And then my relationship had broken up, and I'd fell into a world in Bellingen where it was a hippie kind of scene, and I'd be smoking weed and drinking alcohol and just fallen by the wayside type of yarn, you know.
Yep.
And then doing artwork saved me in many ways.
Right.
You know, it got me out of the grind of just sitting around doing nothing.
Yep.
And just smoking weed with my mates that had come along and enticed me and encouraged me to you know, pick up a joint or whatever. And I'd spent, you know, nearly 2 years doing that life, and I'd realised that it's not the right way for me to. And spirit doesn't work with me when I'm doing that.
Yeah.
Spirit's
Right.
the furthest thing away from me, and I'm all left alone because of my choices.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, I've still got choice habits to make. As you've seen, I just had a cigarette not long ago, and it's something that I own a lot, but it's something that I'm managing to deal with. I've got to also with diabetes register my HbA1c levels every 3 years for my driver's license.
Right. Yep.
And I came in to do my HbA1c, I think it was last year or the year before. And you got to be 7.5. Anything higher, then you've got to have all these other tests done and stuff like that. And I'd gone and done my urine and blood tests for the HbA1c level for my driver's license, and my doctor came. Well, I went into the clinic, and the doctor had said to me, he said, "Bernard, thanks for coming back in, and I just want to share with you what your results were. And I don't know what you're doing, but my advice would be keep doing it."
That's
And I
always
said,
good.
"Oh, okay, this sounds cool. What's going on here, doctor?" And he goes, "Your HbA1c levels are at 6, which is pretty much near to no diabetes.
Yeah.
And whatever you're doing, you just got to keep doing it." And what I was doing was just eat, you know, on a keto diet, walking, and you know, I was still smoking marijuana. And then I'd fallen into a bit of a mental health relapse, and then I've given up marijuana since. I've been off the marijuana for about a year and a half now.
Right.
So there's been no marijuana, but while there's no marijuana, the weight starts to pack itself on again.
Right.
You know, so
Yep.
I'm conscious of where I am health wise, and I'm conscious of where I'm going health wise.
Yep.
It's just an everyday step to get there, you know.
Yeah, it's a complicated journey as well, isn't it? One factor can influence the other a lot, and if you take one away, it can harm the other. Those sorts of things.
Yeah, I think that's why choices are a very important word and to act with. Don't just say it. You gotta act with it. You know,
Yep.
it's okay to own them. You know, and go, hey,
Yep.
look, I'm a frigging smoker, and I don't agree as well, but it's where I'm at, and I need people to accept that in me.
Yep.
If you can accept that, then you're gonna see the good in me.
Right. Yep. Yep.
And nobody has a remote control that has Bernard Kelly Edwards on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Only I hold that. You
Yeah.
know? So people need to, because there's a lot of people in this world that are in my circle, you know, that blatantly trigger a lot of labeling over that.
Yep.
And that's, I mean, I shouldn't be saying this, but that's cool because I'm used to it.
Yep.
And I shouldn't be receiving so much triggered label bullshit of society all the time when they need to have a look at themselves. But I've kind of worked hard, brother, on not getting to a place where I allow myself to choose to behave in a different way when I react to it.
Yeah. Right. Yep.
Yeah, and that's the result I get is I don't have to worry about dealing with those attitudes.
You've got the remote control, eh?
I got the remote control, brother. That's my new solution to problems.
I like it.
Yeah, you know, like my niece rang the other night and she sent this massive Bible of context like this on a video message, and I said, I can't do that. You need to ring me. So she rang and she splashed out all these problems about people that she had problems with. And I said, Uncle, you know how on remote controls for TVs? She said, yeah. And I said, this man that you're talking about, do you have a remote control with his name on? And she's like, what do you mean, Uncle? And I said, I'm seriously asking you, do you have control of this man? And she goes, of course not. And I said, well, stop fucking worrying about it.
Yeah.
Yes, he can do whatever he does that makes you angry or gives you bad feeling or whatever. At the end of the day, you can't control it.
Yeah.
She said, well, what do I do then, Uncle? And I said, the only thing you should be doing is projecting love and compassion at him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just remember, you can control you, but you can't control no one else.
Yeah, exactly
Said,
right.
now I get the remote control for you. And I said, yeah, well, do that. That's the best way forward.
Yeah, exactly. You know? Yeah. And so if, with this, we'll put out a little thing in the newsletter, and you obviously your animation is going to be seen far and wide as well across the country. If people want to be able to get in contact with you or interested in seeing or buying some of your artwork, what's the best sort of contact for you? Is it the email address or?
The email address, I don't know if you have my contact number.
I haven't got it, but you could probably give it to me. That'd be good.
Yeah, it's 0413
0413
474
474
976.
976.
Yeah.
No worries.
And for the social media world, people can get onto Instagram and look for BKE79.
BKE79.
Yeah, I upload a lot of my work there.
Yep, that's the best place to go, is it, to see and have a look what's going on.
Yeah. I often, like tonight, I generally do a workshop online in this kind of platform where I've had 7 or 8 people come on, and some of them are doing their artwork while we're conversating, and it's only a space where I ask for a donation where we can sit and share and talk about what art does to us. And I often put these kind of backgrounds up, or I do like a live streaming where I can share while I'm doing the artwork. So I haven't done that. Eh?
Where do people find out about those?
Well, they've only got to email me.
Right. Yep.
And then all I do is send them a flyer.
Yep.
In return, and if they're interested, then I'll add them to a Zoom link.
Cool.
And it's every Tuesday. I think it was 6 to 7 or 5 to 6. I don't remember.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
All right.
But, I mean, if you could splash that out over Newcastle Uni, bro, then that'd be amazing.
Yeah, no, I can certainly, it'll go out through our newsletter that stuff happens and where to find it. So
yeah,
and yeah, we'll put a bit of a link to all, your social media and email address as well, so people know exactly where to contact you if they're interested.
Yeah, cool. And tell the research team well done and keep going.
I will. I'll pass that along for sure, and I'm sure I'm passing along for them. Amazing work with the artwork. We were all sort of blown away. It's been amazing.
Yeah, right. Because Michelle gave me that kind of vibe, and I'm like, oh my god. And my daughter's a big fan of just sharing and talking, and we do a lot of conversations in the car going to school. And I was telling her about this project, and I said, guess what, Dad? I pick her up from school, and she goes, what, Dad? And I said, you know that job I'm doing for Melbourne University? And she's like, yeah. And I said, well, the people that I'm doing it for, they really like my artwork, Dad. And she's like, oh, Dad, that's so good. And I'm like, I know, right, darling.
No, I've been there when we get sent through the emails with the work and stuff, and it's been amazing. Everyone's had real positive sort of reactions. So.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
And your mob all over the country will be be looking at this video as they go into the study, and they might be a little bit nervous and whatever, but I'm sure that video is really going to give them the answers they need and make them feel like that it's worthwhile.
The warm voice that's welcoming them to the video, that sister's voice is the right kind of voice. It's very, very simple and effective, and it welcomes you. It doesn't give you that scared, I don't know about this. It's a surety. It's not an unsure thing.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Tracy's very good at that. So
yeah. Tell her well done and keep going.
I will. I'll pass that on. But thank you
Yeah.
very much for taking the time with me today, Bernard. Really appreciate
No,
it.
you're right, brother.
And I'm sure we'll cross paths at some point soon.
Fingers crossed, bro.
Fingers crossed.
We keep doing the beautiful work the creators asked us to do.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. Listen to
Yeah.
those people.
Yeah, beautiful, brother.
All right, mate. You have that great day, hey?
Will do. You too, champion, and I'll talk to you soon.
No worries. Thanks, mate.
See you, champ.
See ya.